Hey guys, welcome to the Bearded Federalist Show. I am your host today, Right Wing Dad, and with me I have Captain Caldwell and Mark McEthron. We have a pretty busy schedule today, so we're going to be talking about Biden withdrawing from the race, Kim Cheatle being questioned before Congress and resigning, and we will also be talking about the Democratic Party rallying behind Kamala and her being the new frontrunner. We also have two more topics, Bibi Netanyahu speaking before Congress and the Paris Olympics. More than likely, we will probably break those last two topics up into a separate show and release tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. We also have some news concerning merchandise that I'm going to hand over to the captain here.
So there were a couple of requests from Mark and Zach. They wanted some specific stuff. So we have created prototypes. You guys can see the shirt that I like. I like the logo on the front. Hope you guys enjoy that. There's nothing on the back, but just we have our logo on the front. We also have a prototype hat with the logo on the side. I think we probably do like the Bearded Federalist Show. That's what we're looking at. Again, these are just prototypes. So this one is Mark's shirt. Zach has the same exact one, but a different size. He's got bigger arms. So on the front, it has
Yeah.
Mark's get shit done. All right, and then on the
Yeah.
back,
I love it.
is a big logo. So again,
Oh, yeah,
these are
man.
the prototypes. This is the same logo that's on the hat and on my shirt. These are just the prototypes. I hope you guys really enjoy these. We're hoping to have a shop set up soon. These are actually going to go in a box. Zach, I'm going to mail these to you if you want to hand Mark
All right.
his when you get it. Probably take a week. Probably just slow mail it, something like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
So with that said, a couple more weeks and we'll have a merch store. Hopefully
We do have a
launching in-
website.
Yes, and we do have a website that Mark did put together. So stay tuned for that. Anything will come directly from our Twitter account. So if you guys want to make sure you're following the Twitter account, you'll be good to go. So
We are also on every other platform as well, including Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble,
Yeah, buddy.
Facebook, and of course X. Don't know if we're going to make an Instagram yet, but we'll keep you updated.
So just like last week, we've got all of our at least the header topics here. This week, I'm going to try to put timestamps. So if you guys decide that you want to skip one part or fast forward, there'll be a timestamp eventually where you can go back through. With that said, let's get started, boys. So we're going to start with the Biden withdrawals from the presidential race through a letter, which I thought was like, I'm not going to lie, I felt like I got broke up via text message, and I did not like that. Okay,
Right?
So,
It was a Dear Jill letter.
yeah, it was definitely like I felt like yeah, dear Jill. That's really funny. So I felt like I got broken up via text message. I mean, I'm not a Democrat, but I do take the office very seriously, and I hope whoever wins it in the future, it doesn't matter. I hope they do well, and I hope that our country is prosperous. Yeah, he did have that. Oh, this is going to be really funny. So he did have that little interview thing, that whatever few minutes where he, hey, I'm leaving the race, that sort of stuff. But there were a couple little things that I noticed, and then later on there were a couple people that pointed it out. His watch didn't show up the correct time. And now it could be that he was set to, Central Time or Eastern Time or whatever, and it wasn't. He set to a different time zone, but that still wouldn't make sense because Delaware. Anyway, so Mark, what are your thoughts on the way that he dropped out and the letter, the little clip that he gave us? What was that, Thursday night? The address. What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, just before I answer that, are we? I know certain platforms don't like us using strong terminology. So what are we going to do here? Are we going to fire off and speak the King's English, or are we going to try to keep across these platforms.
So
Just before I answer that.
I will tell you guys and our viewers that I am ex-military, and I've built ships for a living since so is Mark, and I've built ships for a living. You can ask Right Wing Dad. I've always had a foul mouth, so I'm going to try to calm down my 4-letter words. And
I was going to suggest that only
Yeah.
because there are family members, at least of mine, that support
Yeah.
the show,
And-
and that was kind of a complaint they had. And there are certain platforms like Spotify that will label it as explicit if
good deal.
There's
so
language.
right. I'm going to try to watch my mouth. What you guys do is up to you.
Okay, so I will say, first, breaking up with the country with a letter is a weak move. It's not something that a leader does. So one, it was just feeble, feckless weakness, and a lot of other strong terms come to mind for that. Like, what a coward. Just terrible. Face the country. Nixon was able to do it when he was resigning. You can do it to drop out of a race. Like that's just such weakness. So that's thought number one. Thought number two, they didn't give him a choice. Like they brought the screws to his ankles there on that. I mentioned last week that the only way that they were dropping out was this because Jill had such a hold on that. His family had such a hold on that. The only way that was going to be dropping out was if the Democrats were basically, you're leaving one way or another. And if you want any dignity in this, it would be on you to go ahead and resign the
he
nomination. The nomination. Right. So you either do that or we will 25th you is truly what I believe was happening. I think this was a move by Kamala and the cabinet and the Democrat Party, Obama as well. They showed up. Everyone showed up. Like, the amount of traffic going into D.C. from the bigwigs in the Democrat Party was unprecedented. Like, it was just a flow of people. And so, yeah, I think they put the pressure to him and told him, you've got no choice. And I think he told us that. Like, that's the other thing. I think he told us that in his video announcement. He's like, I think I have enough to keep going, but members of my party would like someone younger.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think he was telling us that. So the Democrat Party, who always preaches on being on democracy and the loss of democracy and everything, have structured a coup and thrown out democracy, appointed their next heir, not giving their voters any say in this whatsoever. And it's a wild show going on. And I'll say the popcorn is delicious. The ramifications are terrifying. But that's my thoughts in a nutshell on that one.
So
what a weak dude.
When this when this whole thing happened, so I said, I think the last show, or maybe our very first episode, that I thought that Biden he was out before Friday. I'm pretty sure that's what I said. There's no way he lasts more than a week. So in my opinion, I think that the reason why it took so long was because there's like he needed like a separation package or some assurance or whatever. I don't know what would be in that. I have no idea what would be in like let's just call it like a CEO separation package. But that's my thoughts. Zach, what about you? What do you think about the whole, how he resigned or not resigned, stepped out of the campaign and all that stuff?
I was kind of expecting it. I mean, I said last week that he was going to resign on Sunday. And while I was a little, shocked that he did it, via Twitter or on social media, it's also, reflective of his presidency. It just weak, and that's really my only opinion on it.
So
I mean,
feeble.
Yeah, just very feeble. I mean, he didn't even have like a video prepared. It was just something, an intern posted, and he was more than likely still asleep or taking his afternoon nap.
So you don't think
Uh,
that was pre-recorded? Is that what you're saying, or you do think it was pre-recorded?
oh no, his video message
Yeah.
that was live because I mean you have
Are you sure?
a bunch of news networks there recording it live. If it wasn't recorded live, someone would have told us, whether it be Peter Ducey or someone else. I'm talking about the letter specifically on Sunday. But I don't really have too many opinions on this. It's just more so of the ramifications that this has, which, goes into a later topic that we're going to talk about. But
Yeah.
with that topic taking up a little bit more time, we'll probably talk about something else first.
Right. So
Yeah, I think that video was live too, only because he had so many faux pas in there, so many like you could see he was losing his track of mind. Like you'd see the
Oh,
same
yeah.
things that have plagued him through everything happening in that video. I think if it was pre-recorded, they would have edited and readjusted and made him sound a
Oh,
little
yeah,
bit
there
stronger.
would have been multiple jump cuts.
Yeah.
maybe, that could be. Well, we definitely talk about Harris and that whole thing in a little bit. But what about Cheatle resigning? What do you guys? Let's talk about her in front of Congress first. I guess I've listened to a couple of other pundits, uh, and they basically said um, that she would not answer anything at all. So, what do you guys think? Did you guys see? What do you guys think about like her presentation? And then did you guys specifically want to call out any of the Congress members first? Zach, do you want to take that one
Yeah.
first?
So I watched the hearing. I'm searching for it. I forgot his name. He's a Democrat from Florida. Has a weird last name. Let me Google real quick.
Well, while he's googling, Mark, do you
Yeah.
want to go first?
Sure, man. So one, Cheadle had to resign. That was obviously going to happen, and I think the hearing kind of forced her hand. I think she was hoping to come out a lot stronger on that, but man, she looked like she was not prepared for the gambit she was going through. She's not the DC bigwig that she thought she was. She didn't have the backing that she thought she had, and it was evident there. They were grilling her left and right, both sides. I mean, AOC was even tearing into her. Like it was a bloodbath.
Right.
Some of
So
the awesome.
when you see both sides attacking at the same point, that means something is super messed
She's
up.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
done
right,
at that
yeah.
point. There is no future for
Well,
you when both sides.
I don't even think
unleash
Doritos
dogs.
would hire her back if that's what
Right,
she would.
right. So the one quote that really stuck out from me, I forgot who was grilling her on it. It may have been AOC, honestly, but she was like, "Is a rangefinder a threat? Like, is a guy with a rangefinder at a place like this
Yeah.
a threat?" She's like, "No, a guy at a rangefinder at a place like this not a threat." Holy hell, dude!
Yeah,
Like what?
I remember that when she said that. I was like, "Are you serious right now? Are you kidding me?"
And that's policy from the top down. Like, and so that filters into training, that filters into everything they've got going on, which is why, like last week, I was like, this is a top down colossal incompetence on display. Like her incompetence was on display in this hearing.
Yeah.
It was just evident, and both sides were drawing it out and beating her up. She had to go. I think Congress hasn't gone far enough yet. I think Mayorkas got to go too.
Oh, yeah,
He's
I
the one
agree.
that handpicked her. He's the one that selected her. He's the one that put this all together. He's the one that pushes down across all of the agencies within Homeland Security. This whole DEI crap that is leading to all of this.
Yep.
He's the one responsible for all of this. The buck stops there.
So what do you
He's gotta
think
go.
about this? What do you think about this new Well, okay, he's not new because Trump didn't. I think Trump nominated him to be. Didn't Christopher Wray take over for Cheatle? Did I read that correctly? Who's the interim right now?
I have no idea.
Is it not Christopher Wray? It might be. Anyway, so
that would be funny if it was Ray.
While Zach is looking for that thing, so there were a couple other I'm going to say Congress people. Boebert really dug in, but Nancy Mace, holy crap, Nancy Mace. As soon while she was if Nancy ever for some reason ever watches this show, I was immediately a fan. I didn't even care if you were a Democrat or a Republican. As soon as she was she was saying this is bullshit. As soon as she started going in, I immediately picked up my phone and went on Twitter. I followed her account and her government account immediately. Oh my, Nancy Mace, you are.
Reminded me of Trey Gowdy back in the day, man. She was a bulldog.
Yes, and I like Trey Gowdy too, but Nancy Mace, I mean, there were Lauren Boebert, and then Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then there were a couple on the Democrat side that I just can't remember right off the top of my head because they were fairly new names for me.
And that's what I was looking up. One of the congressmen that really grilled her was Jared Moskowitz from Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
He was probably one of the toughest on her. Now, Nancy Mace, of course, she grilled her, but I have my separate issues with Nancy Mace. I think her and the other women like Boebert and MTG, they do a lot for the camera and they focus on things that aren't really important. But yeah, so Ronald J. Rowe Jr. has been appointed as the acting director since Kim Cheatle resigned.
Okay.
Never heard of him before, but the Trump assassination wasn't the first mess up. There was that former NSC director that someone got past their perimeter, and
when she answered that question, was we've had multiple incidents. What? And you're still? How are you not fired already? You should have 0 incidents. 0. Yeah. None at all. You should not have any incidents at all. If there's an incident, it better have been squashed in 30 seconds. Oh my gosh, it was so bad. And then she kept saying, "Oh, I don't have all the facts yet." Please, are you serious? No,
I think it was that Florida guy actually that was pressing. He's it's just a yes or no question. Was this a failure? Was this a failure? And she kept trying to go on it. He kept hammering on it, and he got her to answer. She's like, yes, it was a failure.
Yeah.
So when
you're fired, fired.
Yeah. When Christopher Wray is answering questions about this, and you're not, there's a big problem because he typically doesn't, give up any information. I think he was trying to put a lot of the blame on the Secret Service and not the FBI.
Yeah.
And so he was more willing to answer questions, because he didn't want it to be like a repeat of that hearing.
And how derelict is Mayorkas in this too? The border failures aside, he's watching this thing and he lets her resign instead of saying you're fired. This is a dude that just does not do his freaking job to secure the homeland, at all.
That would be the first thing that I would have done. Imagine if it was the other way around. And I don't wish harm on anyone. I do not care about your politics or whatever. I might call you names, but I really don't care about any of your politics. But if it was the other way around and it was Biden and something catastrophic actually did happen, do you guys understand how bad it would be right now in the United States? Or it could also be the same if something catastrophic happened to Trump, but I'm sure there would be a little, I'm just going to say a little unrest, but mostly peaceful, though. Mostly peaceful. Fire in the background. So do we have anything else to say on the Cheatle thing? I think I think all three of us agree that she probably should have resigned before she probably should have never even gone in front of Congress. She probably just should have resigned. And the day after, Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but we can move on. I would really like to get to Kamala. I would really
Yeah,
like to
this
know some of the
this
things
will
that
be
you
the
guys
long
think.
topic.
Yeah. So the Democrat Party rallies behind Kamala as projected front runner.
That was
Um,
crazy.
I think that there's a lot of things that in the Democrat Party, anyways, that's going on, um, and I think that there are multiple little factions of Democrats, like similar to the Republican Party, but they are all communicating, but they're all disagreeing. So one of the biggest things that I don't like about the way that they did it was they basically superseded the whole primary thing. Like she didn't actually have to do a primary. And that's my main concern is it's obviously I would not vote for her in the primary, but there are probably 50%, let's just say 81 million people that didn't actually get their vote. Like it doesn't, they voted for Biden, but it doesn't mean anything.
But
I,
Republicans are the threat to democracy.
yeah, right. Yeah. So,
You
Well,
never want to hear them say anything about democracy again.
I
so
also the second point is I also think that it's ironic that the people that we have discussed and I personally think could potentially take the helm are all now potential VP picks. I just think that is absolutely hilarious. I think it's hilarious. Gretchen Whitmer, Josh
yeah, everyone that I
Shapiro, like everybody we discussed last week. After I did some research, I was like, oh yeah, these guys could definitely take it from Kamala. So
well,
Zach, I
so
do know you have a lot to talk about this one, so we'll let you take this one first. What do you think
Get
about
him,
the whole?
Zach. Get him.
Yeah, get him.
well, so two things. One, you also have to think about it's about to be August. The Democratic convention isn't until the week of August 19th, and the election isn't until November 5th. Now, Kamala doesn't have the name recognition that Biden did. Even though she was the VP, she's been a pretty silent VP. I've heard more out of Kamala Harris this past week than I have the last 4 years.
Honestly, I have no idea
And
what she's even done in 4 years.
yeah, exactly. All of her accomplishments are, oh, she supported this, and I'm like, voting on something or whatever doesn't count as an accomplishment. Um, but, you know, Democrats were in a real pickle because if they pushed Kamala aside, it says she wasn't, ready for the job, even though she was VP. But on the other hand, they didn't have enough time to really prop someone up, because if you make someone the Democratic nominee towards the end of August, you have a month and a half maybe to, get the signs ready, get everything, you know, all amped up for an election. And you just can't do that, especially when, she already was in control of the campaign funds. And so there was just a lot that had to be done. And so they're all just, I want to say they panicked and they're like, you know what, we're just going to go with Kamala, and what happens, happens. We're going to prop her up. We're going to delete a bunch of old stories. There was the one about the border czar being defeated, and AP got, or no, it was Axios, I believe. They got ratioed to hell. Um,
The internet scrubbing that's happening with her is unreal.
Yes. Oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
gosh. Yes.
it,
She was never the
it's
border czar. She was never. She never. Wow. Yes. I was shocked when I started to see that.
it's going to be interesting because even though it sounds like there's a lot of people that are rallying behind Kamala, at the same time, there's a lot of people that are like, ooh, I need to rethink this, free on X. He's been pretty anti-Trump. He's been never Trump, but with Kamala as the front runner, he's like, you know what? She's a far bigger threat. And, I totally get that. As far as running mate goes, she's got to go with someone more moderate. You can't stick two progressives on the ticket and expect to get, a bunch of independent votes. It probably would have been better if a progressive was on the back burner and a moderate was on the front of the ticket, but it just couldn't happen this time. I think the problem with Hero is even though he's pretty moderate and has a history of being bipartisan, he's also Jewish, and the Democratic Party has a huge anti-Semitism problem right
Oh yeah.
now.
Ooh,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
No idea if they would go for that. And then you have Mark Kelly, who he's votes with Biden 99% of the time. And so I don't, even though I feel like it's going to end up being him, only because he adds accomplishment to the ticket, because Kamala doesn't really have any. And, Mark Kelly's an engineer,
Huh?
astronaut, senator. I mean, he's accomplished, even though he's a moron. Um, but yeah, I don't see it being Roy Cooper. He's termed out and he's older, anyways. Um, Only other person I could see it being is Pete Buttigieg, and
I do find it
if
funny that every single person that I saw on the projected possible VP pick, every single one was white. I did find that to be
well, there
hilarious.
there there was Wes Moore, but I don't
Roy
know if he
Moore.
was
Yeah,
on.
Westmore. Yep.
Yeah, no, Roy Moore is a completely different story.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and her accomplishments, I just she doesn't really have any. The way she rose to power is, being the side piece to Willie Brown back in the day. And this kind of goes into what I guess me and Mark were going to talk about today is there's two factions right now on the GOP. There's the ones that are rallying behind Trump
Mm-hmm.
because they fear for Kamala, and then there's the burn it down, rebuild the Republican Party in 2028, and whatever happens, we'll rough it out for 4 years. Now, my thing is, I don't see us and this happens every election. Oh, there won't be another, election, or there won't be in America after these next four years.
No.
It's the
And
most important election in your lifetime.
And that's what
yeah,
they've
the most,
said every single time before now. So, uh,
but I make the point only because we've never faced a situation where we already have, illegal aliens coming into the country, millions per month, and obviously we already have a president that's not doing anything about it.
yeah.
But when you have a progressive president that not only wants to get rid of the filibuster, but stack the Supreme Court with more judges and then put liberal justices on there. She wants to legalize criminal or decriminalize illegal immigration, let immigrants come in, give them voting rights, give them free insurance. To me, that is far worse than what Donald Trump is doing to the Republican Party or will do to the country. Because let's be honest, Donald Trump isn't smart enough, in my opinion, to actually accomplish the things he says he's going to do. I mean, he didn't get a wall built with Republican control for two
That's
years.
debatable. Debatable.
Yeah, but
So he didn't build the whole wall, but he did. He built
52
what? Yeah,
miles,
52 miles of new wall, and then
new
200 or
wall.
300 something of repaired or
Yeah,
replaced wall.
but anyways, but what I'm saying is, while he may be more left, he's more of a 90s Democrat. He's centrist
I agree with
that
that.
is on the left a little bit, but he's on the right some as well.
Yep.
And I don't like it. And I think he has divided the Republican Party. But
I
at the
agree.
end of the day, is it even divided if he has a huge majority?
Well, okay.
Because to me, division is half and half.
Well,
And so
think
I
about
feel like
it.
there's a lot.
Think about it from a political strategy point of view. Okay, so if you're running for president and you wanted to take votes from your opponent, if we're going to look at that like basically timeline here, and you want to
Oh,
shift your
yeah.
tent and try to capture some of their voters, well, the ones on the right, the ones that I feel like the three of us fall into,
It,
the
it's a fear tactic.
conservatives aren't go- they're still not going to vote for Kamala. They might not vote for Trump, but they're not going to vote for Kamala. They're going to vote for somebody else, or DeSantis would be, obviously the three of us would prefer DeSantis, but so
Mhm.
he's already captured us because Kamala is so bad that we have to vote for him, or at least the majority of us are going to think that way. Mark may not, but um,
And I have a view of, I have faith that the majority of the Republican Party, even the ones that are hardcore Trump supporters, are overall conservative. Now, while there are populists out there, the Laura Loomers, I feel like generally
she's a
over
Democrat.
half are conservative. I think they've gotten wrapped up in the last 8 years by Trump to where they, are kind of just blinded. But I think overall, after this election's over, I don't see anyone that will have the gravitas of Donald Trump or the charm of Trump to kind of go through that again. I don't. JD Vance, he is
Ah,
wildly unpopular. I mean,
yeah.
he's unpopular now, even though he's the VP pick. It appeased part of the base, but there's some people that I know that support Trump that think JD Vance was not the right pick,
No, the
and
more that I learn
I
about him, the
agree.
less I like him.
Yeah, no,
Sadly.
he's got some weird views, but I mean, in my opinion, I don't want America to be so focused, or I don't want Republicans to be so focused on saving a party that only consists of 27% of the country, and our country in the next 4 years end up turning into Ireland or another European country
Yeah,
because
I agree with that.
there's a bunch of, terrorists running loose, and, crime rampant, fentanyl. And as much as I hate Trump, he didn't force vaccines. The Biden administration did. He did overturn Roe v. Wade as much as, he overuses that talking point. He doesn't want to, um, he wants it to be a state's issue where Kamala wants to pack the court and legalize it for the entire country. I just think there are bigger threats on the
Let me
far
ask you
left.
this. Let me ask you this. So, right now there are 10 seats looking like even CNN, New York Times, etc. Like all of the media is pretty much in agreement with this. It looks like the Democrats are going to lose 9 to 10 seats in the Senate this election. The Senate is going to flip to GOP. So all the things that you're afraid of that Kamala is going to do, pack the court, etc. How's she going to do that with a Republican Senate?
She can't. She can't.
Well,
That's
But
federalism, dude. That's
what
federalism. So that's why
what
it's
no,
not
happens
a
I
though? What
binary
happens
choice.
if we still have what,
Like
three
it's not a
months,
binary
100 days? What happens? We got 100 days to
exactly.
election, so things can change.
Remember all the polls that predicted that red wave? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. I just want to make sure that we're not just trying to focus on the House and the Senate and not the presidency, and then we end up losing one that we need, or we end up losing two out of the three. I want to try and win all three, and then if something happens and we win two out of the three, then I'm fine with that.
If you had to
But
focus and put your efforts into something, where would you put it?
probably probably the Senate and the
So, so
presidency. And I say that only because even though the House controls the money, a president can still, you know, make an executive order. And those executive orders still, if they're not tied up in a court or whatever, it still has damage that can be done. And
like,
so,
give me an example.
well, you have, for instance, shutting down the border. Trump was able to do that with an executive order. He was also able to, um, the pipelines, things of that nature. I'm drawing blanks right now because I don't have all of my examples in front of me. I had bookmarked a folder of stuff, but there's just a lot a president can do while waiting for Congress and everyone to, you know, get their crap done. And so, yeah, that's
How,
kind of where I'm.
so yeah, the Senate has a lot of control over that, and so does the new decisions with the Supreme Court on Chevron. Like they've stripped the EO powers. They've stripped not like they haven't removed EO executive order powers, but they've stripped the ability. So the executive orders are to the agencies within the executive branch. Right, it's an order to
Mhm.
those agencies. Chevron strips the powers from those agencies to effectively do a lot of things, unless Congress explicitly permits them to do so. And so the ability to do a lot of that is just not going to be there unless it was explicitly given by Senate. Like all of that's been stripped and removed. Um, so as far as so my position on all that is if we don't if you win the White House and you don't have Congress, you don't have the down ballot, you've won nothing. If
Yeah.
you don't win the uh, White House and you don't have the down ballot, you've lost everything. So the importance, the emphasis, the most effective thing is to employ federalism. Is to take the down ballot and render that ineffective. Like I remember back in the day, Obama pushing all these executive orders for gun control, and this is how powerful like federalism is. Like it is so powerful, and the most power is at the local level. Like he was pushing these executive orders, and we had sheriffs at the county level saying, not only are we
Mm.
not going to enforce that, if you send agents here, we will detain them. And the
Yes.
DAs were like, yeah, and we will press charges. Like the local county level people were fighting against the president
Yes.
of the United States, rendering it ineffective. Like
Yeah.
federalism properly employed, like if we educate our listeners and really do this, what they can do is nothing. Like Kamala wants to push DEI. Well, guess who controls that? That's at the state level. Like that's
Yeah.
even lower than that. We have schools that are removing DEI measures um, from counties. Like that's happening at county levels. Like um, so the power, the effectiveness to stop anything that we are afraid of from POTUS is all down ballot. And we are primed to do that. So that's why, for me, it's never a binary choice. It's not either President A and President B. There's always the option of actual federalism down the ballot to prevent them. And it's needed either way. Like it has to be the priority either way. If Trump wins and we need him to execute and succeed, he has to have the down ballot to do so. For
Well,
decades now, the Democrats have beat us with this process. They have obliterated us
oh
by
yeah.
doing that, rendering Bush, rendering um, Trump ineffective. Like what they did in the House with Trump as president, having him constantly under impeachments. That's federalism down ballot stuff, holding that office in the check, rendering it ineffective. So for
Well,
me, it's a
yeah,
no-brainer.
no, I get that. I also look at it from a standpoint of I don't think Kamala can show any type of strength when it comes to foreign affairs.
True.
And Trump, love him or hate him, he he knew how to handle foreign affairs. Um, that video that I sent last night, he just handles things different because he's a businessman,
Well, he
and it's not even
understands
that.
power and who has power and how to use that power, and
Yeah,
he understands people enough to know how to control them,
but
basically.
this also ties into something that happened last night. The Olympics happened. The opening ceremony
Oh
mocked
goodness.
Christianity, and it's always Christianity. They never insult Muhammad or anything because they'd probably get bombed or something.
Well, keep in mind that
But
Jesus was also he is
Jew.
a Muslim, not a prophet, but what if
well,
they believe he
yeah.
was, yeah.
Isa. Yep, they refer
But
to him. Yep.
I look at it as what does the U.S. look like to the rest of the world? And under under Democrats and progressives, our health secretary is a man in a dress. You have rainbow flags flying at the White House. You have just a bunch of trans people all over the place. And while I know that Donald Trump is not a Christian, he even said, I'm pretty sure he said it on video last night. He, I feel like he likes the idea of it and stability that it gives to America. And to me, optics matter. And I just don't want other
And
countries
I'll concede
look
that
it
in
up.
foreign affairs, objects matter. Like
Do what?
I would concede that in foreign affairs, the
Optics.
optics
Yeah.
matter. Like, just go back to how um, how Reagan settled the whole. Actually, how JFK settled the issue with Cuba and Russia and the embargo and stuff going on there. Um, it, in order to get Russia to stand down, we had to give them the optics that uh, we were moving missiles out of the border of
Mhm.
Russia. So we had to make the optics look like they were getting something for this too, where the reality was very different. So no, I'll concede that optics matter, but let's look at what's going on in the world. Let's be real with what's happening in Europe and stuff there. Um, who are they going to want to work with more? Someone who is constantly fighting against them, or someone that sees eye to eye with them? Harris sees eye to eye with what's going on in Europe. Uh, like everything that's
Well,
there, they are on the same platform. But Trump,
I don't know.
the
Her comments with concerning Palest Palestinians and Israel the other night, they were very. She was like playing both sides to different crowds. So I don't know how she is on that. Um,
she'll come down with the UN. She'll come down with the UN. That's what she will do. It's what she was always done. Because like you said, she doesn't come to office on her own merits. She just follows the coattails of others, um, and so
yeah,
she'll
that is
just
true.
do what the UN says to do. Um, but no, I don't know where we are in our whole topics, but
I
like
think we're actually
my
closing this one
issue.
out.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
no. I mean, we each have different views, and you've been able to articulate it a lot better than anyone that I've talked to, because everyone else is, Kamala's bad, but Trump is worse, and I'm like, well, your argument isn't making sense with what you're bringing up, because I can argue that the left's policies are far worse than center-left policies, and
Absolutely.
people are more concerned right now with oh, Trump's divided the GOP. He's, a threat to conservatism. And I'm like, while that's true, you're trying to save a party and you're not thinking about the country overall.
Yep.
If you would spend your day not attacking Trump, you could be, trying to get rallying for this senator or this congressman that is going to keep the president in check if we do lose the president. And so
Yep.
I feel like if people just focus their efforts where they need to be focused, it'd be a lot better than the whole anti-Trump, never Trump crowd and
Yeah, I
everything
think
else.
for me, my passion right now is almost everything I'm doing is trying to, revive and restore federalism. Like, just to remind people that you have the power, that your participation in your effort, that they actually have fruit. They actually bear fruit. That federalism, as I said it last week. As long as federalism exists, there's the concept of a binary option is a false dichotomy. Like, there's the third option of federalism, and it's, for me, it's the most effective, the best, and most guaranteed solution. And either way you go, option A or option B, you're going to have option C. You just have to have it. So the most important thing, the most effort, is where I'm focusing is on the down ballot, to support these candidates running in the Senate, to support them running in the House, to support our governors, support our county commissioners, our state representatives, to our sheriffs, to our DAs, because there's just so much more power in what is affecting our real lives down the ballot. So for me, the solution isn't to vote for a presidential candidate based on the fear of the other. The solution is to use federalism, to put either one in check or support them, because either way you have to have federalism in place. So for me, it's all about federalism.
All right. So
Yeah.
I think that was a good discussion. I think if we move on now, we might be able to fit everything into the show. So
Yeah,
then
we can do that.
I have two comments before we move on. So Mark, you mentioned the sheriffs and the police officers, like the local law enforcement, not enforcing things. I do believe that if Kamala were to get elected, and she does a gun buyback and a gun ban, I do believe that the local cops would be like, nah, that ain't flying. That's not happening. So the only way that they would be able to do that is on a federal level. And I think, honestly, a federal gun ban would actually be one of the biggest things that ends up splitting the country. And that's my personal opinion. Just
It won't
because
happen.
it'll
There's
be no, it won't.
400 million guns.
I don't think it would happen, and even if they do, there's no way they would enforce it. But if they did try it, like they hired a bunch of FBI agents and they literally went out to everybody's houses and searched, trying to get them off the streets, which it would cost billions and billions of dollars.
SCOTUS said no.
Yeah. So, all right. So that was
Oh
my
no, I
one
lost him in
point.
a bad boating accident.
And I also want to point out that it doesn't matter who I vote for, whether it be DeSantis or Trump or right-wing dad or Mark. It doesn't matter who I vote for. Whoever gets elected, if they do something that I don't like, I will be highly critical. At the end of the day, even if something crazy happened and DeSantis became president, I guess January, but he got elected president in November. If he does something that I don't like, I will be highly critical of him, and honestly, even more so if I voted for the person. So when it comes to Trump, if I vote for Trump in November, you will see on my Twitter, and he wins, you will see on my Twitter when he does stuff that I don't like, I will be highly critical.
Exactly. I mean, all of us, even though I've said that I will vote Trump over Kamala, I'm honestly more critical of Trump than I am of Kamala, because if you don't hold your own candidates accountable, they're going to shift further away. Um, I actually had talked to someone who follows our podcast the other day, Kim, and she sent me a message, and she was, because we were in another group chat talking about this very subject, and I guess she's on the same page as me, and she sent me this super long message. Um, but yeah, people are having the same thoughts and ideas we are, and I told her that, hey, me and Mark are going to be talking about this on our show. So shout out to
Hi,
Kim.
Kim. Thanks for watching.
Um,
And yeah, and so people are definitely watching us, and I kind of like our setup, that we all have similar ideals, but we all have different opinions, and so
and
I
different
think
viewpoints
that it
too.
definitely, different viewpoints, so it definitely
Yeah.
reaches more people. Some people may agree with me, and some people will agree with Mark, and I think it's great to have this discussion, because again, if you don't discuss these things, it's just gonna end up being the same. Oh, screw Trump, screw Kamala, I'm staying home. And I always urge people, you have that right. I completely understand if Trump hasn't earned your vote. Um, he
Yeah.
hasn't done that with a lot of people. I actually told someone the other day, there are like three things that Trump could win the election tomorrow if he came out and disavowed Loomer, the Dilly Meme team, and took accountability for his mistakes during COVID and all of his bad hires, and said, I'm going to try and do better in this next term. I think a lot of people would be like, okay, I'll,
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
trust you.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw that happen with DeSantis. Like DeSantis
Yeah.
put in place some COVID controls. Like that did happen. But as soon as he realized it wasn't working and he drew back from that, but what he did next was he issued an apology. Like it was such an apology. He was literally in tears. Like he's like, I have
I
hurt
remember it. He
people.
was he was sitting
I've
at that table.
hurt people. Yeah. Yep. He's like, I've hurt people with these decisions. And he's like, all I can do now is focus to fight back on this and to restore it. And so that won him back. Like that absolutely won
Yeah.
him back. People are open to that. If Trump did that, he would pull in so many conservatives. Well, maybe not. But he would pull in some more people. Like some people,
Yeah.
COVID is a single like issue for their vote. It's the number one
And
issue for a
again,
lot of people.
COVID for me was a huge issue, because a lot of viewers don't know this. In December of 2020, I came down with myocarditis, and it was so bad to the point where I was actually in the hospital for like a week or two. Um,
Wow, dude, I didn't know that.
Captain remembers this, because
Yep.
I actually almost died. It was so bad. And it was honestly the scariest point of my life, because during that time and COVID, I'm in the ICU, and I can't have family there with me. It's literally just
Yep,
nurses
so evil.
checking on you. And even after I got out of the hospital, and a few months later the vaccine came out, I didn't want the vaccine because I had already had COVID. And it wasn't until Biden put the order in to have, you know, federal contractors have to take the vaccine, that I was essentially forced to take the vaccine, because, I have a car payment, student loans, mortgage. I had bills to pay, and I didn't have time to
Yep.
go look for another job, so I had to take it. And ever since I took the vaccine, I'd say probably 2 or 3 days after the vaccine, my taste, just everything tasted horrible, and my
Yep.
taste has recovered since. I can't have chocolate, coffee,
Yep.
um,
There's
I
some
used to
things
love.
that I can't even drink anymore because it doesn't taste the same. It tastes chemically or like I don't like Coke
Whiskey
anymore.
tastes that way.
I don't. Yeah,
Yeah, Coke.
there's
Horrible.
some whiskeys that I won't drink anymore. There's some beer that I will vomit. I will vomit if I even smell it. I can't even. It's mostly the cheap stuff, but oh, I can't anymore. I can't anymore. I have personally. Now I took the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, but I've also had COVID 5 times now. So between COVID and the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, I
I'm
have
surprised you're not dead.
a chronic. I have like a chronic fatigue syndrome. I have to take naps at lunch. It's awful when I'm at work, and most nights I am in the bed by 8 o'clock, and I'm tired when I wake up in the morning.
I'm in the bed by
So
7.
there's a lot of, and I know a lot of people that are like that, and they have like it's not just when they had COVID or when they got the vaccine, but they've also had extended, whether it was from the COVID or from vaccine, who knows, but they've had health issues. So we got about 4 minutes left. For this show, we're going to talk about the BB speech to Congress and probably the meeting with Harris and then with Trump in the next show, and the Paris Olympics as well.
We're actually going to record that, and then we're going to drop it tomorrow.
Yes. So that will be
in the two
we'll
for
do it
this
back
week,
to back.
guys.
So just keep a lookout for merch if you guys would like to support the show. Keep a lookout on our Twitter account for merch. Again, hoping the next week or so, maybe 2 weeks, we'll have a store up and running for you guys if you guys are interested in merchandise. So until I guess tomorrow, this is the Saturday edition of the Bearded Federalist Show, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Love you guys. Thanks for watching.
See ya.